Welcome back to Nashville, Tennessee, and coverage of the APBA Watercross Nationals as we're in the midst of Moto 2 for Pro-Am Runabout Stock. And Dave, a lot going on here as we reset the leaderboard. Timothy Neff, he's checked out on this race. He's so far ahead of the competition. We haven't even seen him much out here so far, Dave. It's been all the back marker action behind him. That's really been the story. One has been Chris McCluggage on the heels of winning the opening moto, back in 6th place, virtually out of it. Ryan Hartwick, you figure, from the Atlanta, Georgia area, has the best chance at winning a national championship. He finished 2nd in Moto 1, and he's 2nd here in Moto number 2, Dave. So Timothy Neff running away with it, but Ryan Hartwick looks to be your national champion for 2009 as we go on board with Brian Smith, who's made it very tough for Chris McCluggage here in Moto 2.
Yeah, I made it a little bit difficult for him getting through there, but, you know, it's that almighty start where I talk about getting out the smooth water. The stock boats don't have that bottom end power, so you got to stay smooth. You got to keep your speed up to the turn. You don't want to have to battle with anybody. When you start battling with somebody in the back, you lose time, you lose speed, you shave that momentum off, and you got to be smooth. And that's what's going to, you know, the key to winning this. And, you know, it comes down who gets out in front. We've seen it a couple times, 2nd, 3rd, jump up there and battle. But if you're in that middle pack right now, like Chris McCluggage, and, you know, that boat is just getting torn up in that rough water.
So 1 lap remaining as we go on board once again with flying Brian Smith. Meanwhile, Timothy Neff has been in an entirely different zip code this entire Moto 2. He goes wire to wire. He's going to win Moto number 2. So he'll win the battle out here from Nashville, but he won't win the war. It'll be that man right there, Ryan Hartwick from Atlanta, Georgia. He goes 2-2 in his 2 pairs of motos. He's going to be your national champion here from Nashville, Tennessee. Chris McCluggage, 2nd overall after winning the opening moto, slips all the way back to 6th place. And let's now hear from a very ecstatic national champion. That's Ryan Hartwick.
Yeah, I knew I was in contention, but with a guy like Chris McCluggage in your class, you never know when he's going to show up. So luck was on my side today a little bit. He had a little bit of bad luck, but right place, right time, I guess.
And up next, Pro-Am Runabout Open. As we look at the point standings, Dustin Farthing ahead of Arminio Iantoska by 34 points, as those two have battled all season long. Eric Francis, a distant 3rd. Moving now to highlights for the biggest and fastest of all the APBA watercross classes, Pro-Am Runabout Open. And off the start at Moto number 1, a great battle would take shape as 2-time reigning world champion Craig Warner would try to hold off the 13-time overall world champion Chris McCluggage as Kawasaki and Yamaha would go head-to-head. Later on in Moto number 1, Warner would lose his supercharger belt and be forced out while leading, allowing McCluggage and his Yamaha to slip past and move into the lead. 16-time overall world champion Dustin Farthing would also be knocked out, albeit briefly with a supercharger belt issue of his own, but he would be able to return in the race. And Big Mac Chris McCluggage would keep his equipment together and notch the Moto 1 win and have the leg up in his quest to win a national championship. And here's a look at your Moto 1 results. Time now for Moto number 2 for Pro-Am Runabout Open. Chris McCluggage won the opening moto. He'll go for the clean sweep and a national championship here. But really, Dave, a star-studded lineup, 3 world champions in the field, and we have an onboard camera being provided by Eric Francis. But really, I'm starstruck when I look at the lineup here for Moto number 2.
I know you got Chris McCluggage on the Yamaha. You've got the reigning world Pro Runabout Open champion Craig Warner. And of course, you can't forget about King D out there, Dustin Farthing on a Kawasaki. Probably one of the biggest nemesis we'll see, and they get to see both of them underneath the same tent, Warner and Farthing. So that can cause a little pressure, but you know, Yamaha, they've got Chris McCluggage now. He's sitting really well. They've done a lot of testing on this boat, and I can tell you that thing is looking so much faster. And this might be a prelude to what we'll see at the World Finals going into this year, but right now, it's all about a national title.
And a great battle for that 2nd position as Eric Francis will be overtaken by Dustin Farthing. So Farthing now into that 2nd spot behind Chris McCluggage. So Dave, 31 combined world titles out there on the water right now. You have Chris McCluggage with 13, Dustin Farthing with 16, and then Craig Warner with 2 world titles of his own. So a great battle. We expect to see all 3 of these riders compete here in Moto number 2 and vie for a win.
Yeah, the big question is with a lot of these machines, when they get these open boats and the 4 strokes turned up all the way, will they survive? We've seen a lot of these riders plagued with, you know, supercharger belt problems to electrical gremlins. You just never know when you get into these type of machine. Anytime you add water to a race high-performance motor, anything could happen.
And now Craig Warner on the march, Dave. So your 2-time defending Pro Runabout World Champion has moved into that third spot as Eric Francis, who began the race in second place, has dropped to fourth in the span of one lap as we go back up front with Chris McCluggage.
Well, I can tell you, I'm watching some of Francis's line. They're really good. He's staying out. He's using their wake as a berm as they go to the inside of some of these turns. Very smart. But I can tell you, he's competing with two boats that run at factory level in the Kawasaki department. And then in the Yamaha, Chris McCluggage, he is Team Yamaha right now.
And watch this battle now as we come to the front stretch. The inside split was Chris McCluggage, and to the outside split, Dustin Farthing, and this is what we have expected to see all weekend long, almost like ballet out there, Dave. You're seeing two of the best pro runabout riders in the sport.
Outside, inside, outside, inside. Just watching them trade back and forth just gets me so excited, but you can see King D just got the top honors on that one. He just pulled away. Well, when he went to that outside, set to the inside, outside, and stayed around, it looks like he's going to come around here on the outside, keeping it on. But this will set him up for the inside line. Caused him, he turned a little bit on, caused McCluggage to just give it a little bit of a little swagger there, and you can see it shaved off some speed for him, and bam, King D gone.
Well, King D, a 16-time overall world champion. He's up front right now. Can he hold off Chris McCluggage and also Craig Warner? We'll have more of Moto 2 right after this. Coverage of the APBA Watercross Nationals from Nashville, Tennessee has been made possible by HydroTurf, by Yamaha, by Sea-Doo, and by Mystic Lubricants.